folks, Cole here, podcast number 10. I don't know how we got to podcast 10 so quickly. It feels like I'm just getting warmed up to this exquisite material, and as I'm translating it into a Slovakian language, I am having to sit with each of the sentences, and I'm just being transformed by this brilliant material. This book is not speaking so much to the mind as it constantly addresses the heart. And even so, it uses the words that we kind of translate through our thinking. The thinking cannot grasp it so easily. Just the way it's designed is really just continue, just like a Course in Miracles, to dislodge the structure, the tension, the focus on a form as the main character in a play. So it helps to dislodge the mind, to loosen up the feelings, and forgive. And forgiveness is a very important part of this whole process, because it helps us to simply let go of the structure that we allowed ourselves to solidify, and then think we're seeing a real world out there. But it's really not so much about the form. I started chapter 3 last week, the first lesson, and I read a little bit at the beginning. I'm going to come back to this way. It goes, you are not form, nor is your real world. You seek the face of God in form, as you seek for love in form. Both love and God are there, but they are not the form that your body's eyes see. Just as these words you see up on the page, or hear me say, are symbols only of meaning far beyond what the symbols can suggest. I have a whole orchestra of birds in the backyard being entertained by my endeavor here. This is so cool about Australia. We have this place. I live very close to a place called Mullumbimby. I think it's called the biggest, smallest town in Australia. It's not very far from Byron Bay, which is the most eastern part of Australia. And particularly in Mullumbimby, there are these greenish-looking parrots that are actually quite small, but they all meet in town, and around this time of the day, just like these ones, thousands of these birds arrive there and go absolutely wild, like you virtually can't hear anyone speak. They completely take over this whole town. Next time I go there, I'll record it for you, and then I'll put it in a podcast, because it's deafening, but it's also most exquisite. Like they all get together and go like, guess what? I've been watching these people, they're doing the craziest things. Anyway, here we go. So So coming back to this, form is not the main part of us. We often think that like this cathedral called the body is that all there is to us, eh? But truth is, this body is just a tiny little part of us. So to seek the face of God, even in a form of Christ, is to seek for what is forever without form. So to truly see is to begin to see the formless. To begin to see the formless is the beginning of to understand what you are. And it's a wonderful way of doing this, where whenever you see a human being, you decide that you want to see more than meets the eye. You don't have to go to them and ask them about their life, but you ask on within. You open the eye of your heart. And the eye of the heart will see them differently. They begin to see, the heart will always begin to see the heart of the other. The mind will always see the judgments we form about the other. Yeah? We what? We form. Yeah? That's how form is made. We make up our mind where everything is, and then we go, there you go, see? Yet we forget that we were the one who constructed this form. Again, here comes forgiveness. We let the form loosen up. We decide to see things differently. There must be another way of seeing. Yes, it is looking to the heart and looking through the eyes of forgiveness, which is different to what we are accustomed to. And to really keep the heart ignited, alive, one has to be able to feel. And I am not talking about these feelings that seem to accompany our thoughts all day. Those are not necessarily feelings. They are just images and projections of ideas from the past that are called held feelings. Yeah? Feeling that keeps repeating itself, same over and over and over, like anger or even joy. If you felt the joy of God right now, it would be the most unforgettable moment of your life. The joy we understand here on earth is a very limited form of joy. Still the same joy, but a reduced big time, because our feeling body is in a lockdown. Always was. From a very, very long time. We could go back millions and millions of years, come back to health feelings. And we think it's happening now, but this is just a reenactment of an original lockdown where something just locked in. Something was held and something was unexpressed. Something could not be shared, so it had to be withheld, locked in, locked in. And so we live in this lockdown of feelings, and we think we feel, but that's the right in there. That answers the we think, we feel. Right now, in you is a place that's like a birth channel, that's right now birthing a brand new feeling. But because our preoccupation with the past, thinking or projecting ideas into the future, we miss this now moment of birth, of a exquisite, magnetic, lush sensation, sensations, but they're not like, we have a sensation when we have itchy arm or itchy hand, right? It's a different kind of sensation. That sensation has eyes, and it's a beingness, right? That sees the formless. And this is the magnetic I'm talking about that will ignite our heart. The closest here it comes in a radical honesty, when we truly honest how we feel with our loved ones, which is often very difficult because there is this belief that if we truly express how we feel about everything, that we will not be accepted. And because we have that thought, that's exactly what begins to happen. So we keep these feelings well hidden. They're like in a vault. And we forgot the password, we forgot the number, we forgot the digits that would open this vault and begin to feel true feelings again. Feelings have an incredible capacity to communicate. We all yearn for this level of communication. Imagine you just meet with a friend or with your partner, and you both just go, hello, shall we? And you just drop in, and you're just not sitting in some kind of silence. There is nothingness, right? That's called a reverie. A lot of meditation is nothing but a reverie. You kind of escape yourself in this little place of quiet. This thing is alive. It's like it reverberates your being and it nourishes you to the core. It gives you, that's what Jesus meant by, hey, daily bread. This is what your daily bread is. And the beauty and the design of this is that it's got to be shared. Is that when we do share it, it increases. So we go, hello, hello, shall we? Yeah. We go quiet. We drop in, and suddenly, as if something takes over, and it takes you, and it's full, it's alive, it's lush. It begins to flow as a deep passion, but you wouldn't call it that, because again, like whatever you name, you lose. You just feel it and you give it, and it's like begins to radiate from you, and anyone else who is attuned to this new way of being together begins to travel with you. It melts the edges, it dissolves the boundaries, and then the radiance from the heart begins to ooze and expand. And because the whole cosmos is actually charged up with this, you begin to feel to the edges of existence. You feel like a sun in the sky. I don't know how many of you guys seen that on YouTube. There's this video about different planets and different suns. They show our sun, and then they begin to show the bigger sun, and then a bigger one, and a bigger one, and it just goes to this enormous, giant, radiant, mega-size light formations of of endless expansion, right? She's become one of those. Like, hey. And again, you know, it's like there's also this amazing individuality in that, without the word duality. In just like individuation of your particular gift of, you know, we all have like one heart, and yet my heart vibrates in some frequency that will magnetize a different vibration of that expression and meet in that place. This is what happens when there is few of us and we just go into that same place, but suddenly we all drop in, and then everybody brings their own little vibration and enriches the others with that level of frequency, of vibratory rate that's enriches ours, because we vibrate on a different light, different hue, a different color. And when I talk color, it has very little to do with the colors that these eyes can register and the sounds that these ears can hear. You know, it turns into this celestial music. And just that begins to abundantly radiate, and it blesses whatever encounters it. And so this practice of using your heart, not your mind only, or your eyes. Okay, you see a person with your eyes, and then you drop into your heart, you feel it. You what? You feel it. You ignite your feelings. How does this make me feel? And you find this now birthing feeling. Yeah. And you'll begin to reflect what that truly is in front of you. And it will meet with their heart. And it will begin to inform you what their heart cannot tell the person that's over there. And then suddenly you say something and they go, oh gosh, my heart just popped. Yeah. Because this is a course of love. And love is not something we do. Love is something we are. And when we are that, there is very little we begin to need. So to begin to see the formless is to begin to understand what you are. So that's a beautiful practice, or works as well if you decide to see the divine in the other, or the Christ in them, or Mary in them, like the way of Mary. You see the Anna. That's another beautiful metaphor. I mean, obviously those are all just symbols of something that we think is outside of us, but it's all in here. Yeah, Anna, the grandmother of Jesus. There's a wonderful book out there available that's definitely worth getting. It's the Anna, the grandmother of Jesus. And if you feel deeply enough, there are moments in there that are beautifully described where Anna and Jesus, there wasn't like a major discussion on spirituality. It was just a presence. She was there. She was a beautiful representation of the mother aspect of God. If you open to that level of the feminine, that's so important at this point. Yeah? What is feminine? Pure feeling. Yeah. Feminine is often translated into, reduced into forms, right? But no, it's feminine. It's a pure feeling. There's no words. It only feels. It only radiates. So there are some beautiful descriptions that will lead us to, or give us a reflection of that relationship that was happening way deeper than words could express. So allowing ourselves to be shown, what are my pure feelings? What are those feelings that are virgin, that haven't been yet judged, pushed away, manipulated, attacked in any way? Just the pure essence of the feeling. It just is an exquisite expansion, like a golden light that expands. And we can talk about it, but unless we feel it, it's just another story again, eh? So what we do, we close our eyes on all that we have become accustomed to see. And when we do that, we begin to see the light. And what is that? It's like a sensation in some way. It's a feeling thing that, if it can be described, it's not it. In the light that comes only to eyes that no longer see, you will find Christ who abides in you. In Jesus Christ, the Son of God became the Son of Man. He walked the world with a face much like your own, a body with 2 legs, 2 arms, 10 fingers, 10 toes. And yet, you know, this was not Jesus, nor is this a picture of the Christ. Jesus gave a face to love, as you do here as well. It comes this beautiful sentence somewhere at the end of the Course in Miracles, you know, Jesus was a man who saw the face of Christ in all his brothers and sisters and remembered God. Yeah? Because unless there is one slave in this world, we're not going anywhere. And so we begin to see everyone as wholeness. And that is the practice. That is seeing through the heart. That is seeing through allowing more feeling than just some mental descriptions. Because the mind will always want to judge. Yeah? It was designed to judge. It's a separated little entity that's not really us. Because it's divided. It divided itself from feeling, and the whole separation that is experienced as separation from God is separation from us, the self. The minute you become one with everything in you, you'll remember God. End of seeking, end of looking for it. You are it. You wake up to your natural inheritance. And you just sit there. You just beam, you ooze your essence. You manifest yourself as love. And it has nothing to do with anyone else, except when we judge them. And where is that judgment? It's not there. It's in our mind. And that's what the crucifixion really is. We nail brother to the cross. And with nailing him, we nail ourselves. And when you nail to the cross, just imagine you nail to the cross. You can't even pull the nails out. Right? You can't get off. You have no hands. You have no feet available. So you need something else. You need grace of God to come and pull these nails out. And what is that? That's a deep intent not to condemn. Yeah, return the crucifixion into genuine kindness. So Jesus gave a face to love as well as we here do. But love does not attach itself to form and say, this is what I am. See, how can anything have a form except in symbols? Right? The things we value more than we value some others. Like, I love this and I love this and I love that. And we lose it. Where's the love gone? We experience a loss, and then experiencing sense of loss. We don't want to feel that feeling, so what do? We try to get rid of this feeling, and now, by getting rid of that feeling, we shut down the whole will, and our magnetic turns away. The magnetism turns away. And what happens when two magnets begin to turn? When you twist them 180 degrees, both of them, they begin to repulse each other. And so we become repulsive to ourselves. How many of us wake up in the morning, go to the mirror and go, Jesus. It's not because they see Jesus, it's because they go like, God, what happened to my face? Right? So the form will be gone one day, but the essence is forever. And until we realize that we are, the number one is this essence of our being, and then we'll see the periphery, the further and further until we get, it's like, oh, there is the body, but it's not the main character. It was only the tiny little part of our mind called ego that decided to separate from everything. And now it's constantly attacking everything. It shut down this exquisite awareness of our God's inheritance. It says you see 1,000 forms a day with different names and different functions, and you think not that they are the same. You place values on each one based on usefulness and pleasant appearance, on popularity, or on reputation. Each one you place in relationship to yourself, and so you do not even see the form as it is, but only what it will do for you. You imprison form within your meaning, and still your meaning is truer than its form. You give all meaning to everything. Yeah, lesson number 2 in the Course in Miracles. I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Right? True? Look around you, you know. Show me one thing that you didn't give any meaning to. Right? Look at a wall. You give it all the meaning that it has for you. You know, you look at your screen here. You give that screen all the meaning that it has for you. You named everything. Adam naming the animals. And now we have thousands of forms. Ones are better, ones are worse. And we lose ourselves in a form rather than return to the essence. So you give, here it goes, you give all meaning to everything, and thus you populate your world with angels and with demons. Their status determined by who would help you and who would thwart you. Thus do you determine your friends and your enemies, and thus you have friends who become enemies and enemies who become friends, right? So this is what we do with form. But unfortunately then we get lost in a form and we lose the essence. Lose that which we truly are. And this mind becomes kind of harsh. And when the mind is harsh, and this is in both genders on the planet, and this mind becomes rational and dominant, it becomes punitive towards feelings. So the feelings shut down even more, and when they shut down, there is nothing to soften up this stance that the mind has. I am right. No, I'm right. This is how it should be. And off you go. And yet, nothing is what it is, but only what it is to you. So into this rank confusion is brought a simple statement. Love is never changing, symbolizing only itself. How can it fail to be everything or to contain all meaning? No form can encompass it, for it encompasses all form. See? So that's the number one. The form is the effect. Actually, there's a spark in the mind, which is like an inspiring thought, which cannot really function very well when the feelings are not there. Feeling is actually part of us that inspires this spirit to ignite itself. Otherwise it goes into this reverie, and it kind of drags itself through the life. But hey, you know those moments when you just get this inspiring idea and it turns you on, gets you out of depression, right? What is depression? We ran out of sparkly ideas and we don't pause for a moment and look for new ones. Instead, we begin to worship this depression. Yeah? We focus on it and we're trying to get rid of it. But by focusing on it, what do we see more of? Yeah? Whatever you focus on. So here is this depressed person, and suddenly, I'm going to use a woman this time because it represents the feminine part of feeling. And suddenly the man's ignited. He suddenly straightens up. He's no longer in depression. He's like suddenly, hello. Yeah? He has a shower. He goes and buys flowers. He does this, right? But this is also just a physical manifestation of that. You can have that with your own feelings. They open up. Your mind begins to function differently. You get an inspiring idea. The inspiring idea ignites a different level of feeling. Different level of feeling creates a different form. Yeah, there's like a celestial speed up. Course of Love calls it the elevated self of form, right? we get elevated, we get turned on by life, yeah? Why? Because we turn those magnets back onto each other, so they magnetize each other and they click together in one magnet. It's no longer two. And that's the real use of the duality, yeah? Thought and feeling marry in a heart, and they become one. In that wholeness, everything's complete and everything is fulfilled. While these magnets are in slight misalignment, everything is in misalignment. So the form really comes after feeling. And what gets feeling activated is this ignited thought. The spirit inspires and the feeling responds to this. Later on somewhere he talks about a sunset. You see a sunset. It's not about the sunset, but it's about your response to it. You just go like, wow, that's so beautiful. That response is what counts, because that's what gets you into that elevation of the form. You become ignited. I was watching this video for a moment, and they were looking at some kind of book about the experience of nothingness. It's like this is the other way around. This is like an experience of everything. It's so full, Emptiness bores me to tears. There is a fullness that's, Although this emptiness is required, because in an empty space, poof, there is an inspiration. But that would really go more into the mechanics of separation and how we ignite this, what we call me. Yeah, because what are we doing all this for? Yeah, to return to love, to return to wholeness of ourselves. Yeah, has nothing to do with anybody else. Only you can be accomplished, which is the main message of this book. Yeah, only you can be accomplished. What good it is that you see out there somebody who is awake and you go like, oh, I wish. No. You already have everything in you. It just hasn't given that appreciation yet. That like, what's your response? Imagine God's in you. What's your response? So it really comes back to this art of true response. If the feelings are shut down, this response is also shut down. When we can't express to somebody something, it's not a safe place for us. Yeah. So for a while we surround ourselves with people who receive us as we are and say, you know what, I'm like this, I'm like that. Go, darling, come here, And then you can nourish each other back to life again. You can help each other for a moment. But ideally, you want to have this new relationship created within your own self, within your own parts. And you have to admit to yourself that thinking and feeling are two different textures, but they make the essence of our being, of our what we call I. You have these two. They're the main characters. You have thoughts and you have feelings. The thoughts took off and became the king, and the feelings, this king with a small k, makes slave of feelings. And yet it's only because the feelings are so exquisite that this limited level of thinking feels impotent in the presence of the Shakti. the presence of the divine feminine, which is what? Pure feeling. Each man has its own feminine and masculine. Each woman has her own feminine and masculine. And those two either got married or they live in separation. When they get married, the heart is born. The little Christ is born in us and begins to grow. Yeah. If they're not married, we'll begin to look for somebody to marry. Because, oh my God, I'm in love with that person. For how long? Yeah. The divorce rates are high. And again, and sometimes we grow. Sometimes we grow and sometimes things change and we become passionate about something. The other person has absolutely no interest whatsoever. And now we could be stuck. Anyway, I'm starting to sound depressed in here. Talking about the perils of the world. Huh? So let me just go back to the book. I was really just aiming at this inner marriage. Yeah, where inner masculine marries inner masculine. But it's not an imagery. It's not something we imagine, like so many techniques that go like, visualize this. Visualize your inner woman and your inner man. No. Feel your feelings until they ignite your thoughts. Your real thoughts. Now, if the feelings are not available, the thinking changes into this static. Yeah? It's like it's lacking the magnetic. So it's just like a light that just flickers. Like somewhere there's a short. So what we want to do, we got to get this magnetic ignited. That will also return our true electric into action. The mind becomes crisp and clear and inspired. And so here I enter and bring up an inspiring idea. And so while we're talking about inspiring ideas, I just got inspired to sneak in another one of my little recordings that I made a couple of years ago. You will hear the cicadas. It must have been about this time of a year. I was working on the Goldberg Variations by Bach, and I just love this piece. This is like playing it extremely slow. Glenn Gould, which is one of the greatest pianists, interpreting Bach, has made this exquisite recording much later in his life, and he played it so slowly, and I went like, oh, it's gonna go even slower, just to really milk this piece for what it is. So here it is, the aria. And so when we have these holy instances or miracles, that's what happens to us momentarily. Eventually, when we befriend our feeling part of ourselves, this holy instant no longer becomes instant. It just becomes wholeness. And it becomes constant. Because feeling is powering it. We got to be powered by feeling. And since feeling is not the most popular subject and hardly ever mentioned as anything really important, if people knew the importance of feeling, they would momentarily drop everything they do and begin to really seriously look at what's the essence of my feeling self. And look for that which has not been expressed yet. You know, when you're holding something back and then finally you say, oh, I can't hold this anymore, and you say it, you have this exquisite release, that's it. Yeah? And Course of Love says, sickness is held feelings, right? Unexpressed feelings. That makes, when we suppress it, we don't express feeling, that's what creates sickness, because there no longer is a flow of life in the body. Here he talks just about an inspiration. Everything has birth in an idea, a thought, a conception. Everything that has been manifested in your world was first conceived within the mind. While you know this is true, you continue to believe that you are the effect and not the cause. This is partially due to your concept of the mind. What you conceive it to be, it will be to you. While many teachings have attempted to dislodge this concept that you hold so dear, because you use the mind to deal in concepts, you have been unable to let new learning have its effect. This is because you believe your mind is in control of what it thinks. So now he's really going to the mechanics of separation, yeah? You believe in a process of input and output, all completely human and scientifically provable. This is the mind, right? The birth of an idea is thus the result of what has come before, of seeing something old as new, of improving on a former idea, of taking various information and collecting it into a new configuration. See, that's the projection. This is not an inspiration. A Course in Miracles says, what is the peace of God? It says, peace of God is something that has not yet occurred. You can't compare it to anything. It has no similarity to past whatsoever. It's a brand new idea that's just crisp and clear and just gorgeous. He goes like, what has this meant for the learning that is not of this world? It means that you filter it through the same lens, right? Like one day you get these new glasses and suddenly you see through vision, you truly observe the divine in everything. In a twinkling of an eye, just in one instant, this will returns, it just blows everything all into smithereens, and there you are, hello, in a blink of an eye. Yeah, but you gotta resign as your own teacher. You can't really just study this. You just resign, and in that resignation, that which is old is no longer has a power, because you resign as your own teacher. You can't grab anything you've ever learned in the past or anything. It's useless to you. And in that empty moment, Yeah, what did you do? You just emptied your glass. Now it's empty. It can be filled with fresh and new life. And so why is it important to know that the learning of this world is not going to help us with anything? And we need to let it go. Because when we separated originally from ourselves, we begin to lack something. Something was missing in us. And so we had to strive for something. We had to fill that gap, fill that hole with something. And to get good at it, to get stuff, we begin to learn and study. And in creation, there is no learning and there's no studying. You are purely, constantly informed of the new creation. And that moves you into action. But you inspired. You're not going on past learning to achieve something. It's like a clean slate. You're just walking to the new sunlight, new horizon. It was like, wow, what is this going to bring? And suddenly you're like, given. From a completely effortless place. So now you are informed by something else. And at a group this morning, we were reading this incredible sentence. And the sentence is, as I'm jumping into chapter 13, so listen to this, like, you will never fully understand what unity means, but you will come to feel what unity means, and that I promise you. So what did he say? But you will come to feel what unity means. So that's really saying that this part of us that begins to feel again, like it hasn't felt for a very, very long time. Because like I said at the beginning, we really believe that we know what the feelings are. And my shock and a surprise was when suddenly that will in me awakened, the part of me that only feels, that is not willpower, but it's the will, the great she, the mother within, the core of the feminine. Yeah, when that awakened, I realized that what I thought was my feelings wasn't my feelings. Yeah. That they were just like stored images and held imprints, ideas. Until they got released, I had no idea. I was just in this kind of spinning mode. Yeah. But once the feeling returned, like real true feeling returned, the grounding of the mind that occurred, where virtually thoughts began to vanish. They were like suddenly not available. But there was this peace and quiet and this agitation of what's next. How else can I fulfill this hole in me? It was gone. It's just like, oh, I don't need anything, because everything was really provided. If I was lacking something, all I have to do is feel it, and then I would have it. When I had my awakening, I described it as like I was standing in this dry well for centuries, for eons, right? Sitting in this dry well, there was no water, there was no food, there was nothing. It was just like this dreaming of this crazy world. And then suddenly, fresh water from my feet. It was a physical experience. It wasn't just an image or something. It was just like, oh my God, something's vibrating in me, eh? In that one instant, the minute I resign, 100%, you can't resign 99%. It's either this or that. It's like you either know the truth or are the truth, or you don't. There is no degrees. It's like, oh, now I know a little bit more. There's no degrees. It's either yes or no. That's where it's so kind of radical. Yeah. But basically all it is, give up the old, boom, brand new, something is born. Because what? If you don't have anything old, you are in the present moment. You are in the now. You are in here. That you cannot name. Everything is just like a, wow, what is this? And then God answers. You just go, poof. You have not given up the idea that you are in control of what you learn, nor have you accepted that you can learn in a way that you have not learned before. Thus, we move from the head to heart to take advantage of your concepts of the heart. Concepts much more in line with learning that is not of this world. What did Jesus say? My kingdom is not of this world. Say it to somebody and they'll nail you to the cross. It's like, oh, you must be nuts. Here comes that bird again. These words of love do not enter your body through your eyes and take up residence in your brain. They are to be distilled into a language that you can understand. As you read, be aware of your heart, for this is where this learning enters and will stay. Your heart is now your eyes and ears. Your mind can remain within your concepts of the brain, for we bypass it now and send it no information to process, no data for it to compute. The only change in thinking you are asked to make is to realize that you do not need it. This is chapter 3. I love this book. Because you know what? When you dislodge this mind for a moment, actually, that's what the drugs do for people. Basically, they just dislodge the ego for a moment. And they go like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Yeah, it's your natural state. Except do that without drugs. Just sit and dislodge the thinking. So let's do this right now, huh? So that thought you have, just let it go. And that thought about that, let that one go too. And how about that one? Just let go. Eventually, let go of everything you think you know. Because that's like a cork on a bottle, the champagne bottle. You pop it and it explodes, right? That's what the thinking does. It makes this solid corkscrew that needs to be tied down by these wires so it doesn't pop open upon shaking, right? Yet, it's just ready to explode. So eventually we'll be grateful for letting go of everything we think we know. And that will just open up the space for the heart to introduce itself to you. And it unplugs, the corks explode, and the feelings begin to rise up. And that's your real Kundalini energy. And it's not just this little thing going up your spine. It's this wide, wide, wide energy that flows from the bottom up, just like the trees do, up and out, flowers all go up and up. Plants, have a look at them. Trees, everything opens and opens, and then the flowers come, and what do? They just go straight for the genitals. They open up the essence. They completely chakra-spready. They completely open up. It's like, look, these are my ovaries. Yeah, let's spread them everywhere. Here comes the bees and takes them all over the place. So the whole world represents this exquisite openness. Why do we love flowers? Because it's a manifestation of just that very thing. Where we no longer hide, we no longer put a fig leaf in front of ourselves and feel guilty for who we are. And that's all that was. Adam thought he did something wrong. And now we have this crazy story. But those are just stories, they're just symbols to remind us that this is what's happening to us. It's like a little whispers into our ears. Just drop it. Open up. And so this Kundalini begins to flow if the feelings are flowing, if the cork is gone. The cork is a whole thought system that we made up in separation. And it's so dear to us because it took us years to establish all these thoughts and structures and stories. Yeah, every experience we have, we turn into a story. Underneath each story is nothing but one single feeling that's in denial. And instead of expressing that feeling, we make up story. Sometimes I do sessions with people and they start telling me the story. I guess, can you just stop right there? I don't really need to know this story. This story is senseless to me, right? Just tell me, how does it make you feel? Next minute they open their mouth to begin to talk again. I said, no, feelings don't talk. Don't tell me. What's the feeling? What do you feel? What's underneath this big story? And then they become emotional, they begin to cry or whatever, and go, yeah, that's good. Let's move that. Let's give that a little expression so we can find out what is the feeling that's underneath all that. Guess what? Once the feeling is available, the whole story will disappear. You return home because you ignite your feeling ignites your heart corrects your mind, and your body goes elevated, right? So it's that simple. So whatever the story, you know some of those stories, like you have a person that you always talk about and has no end. Well, some of us don't do that, but if you do, it's very simple. There is one feeling underneath that whole story that's denied. The art of true response is to find this response in us and give it an expression. You save yourself years of trying to process something. Because once you make a story, then you're going to start looking to that story and there is no solution in that story. You can look at it differently, you can change, but you still haven't changed that which created that story. So we'll repeat again. You can analyze it or you can look at it differently, but unless you find what is underneath, what actually grew that story. So we have a tree, we have a trunk, and we have the root, right? Without the root, there's no tree, right? So that's the foundation. We need to go to the foundation. Where is the foundation? Downstairs. That's exactly the same place where heaven is. And really, that's the key. Because you know what? Let me ask you a question. Tell me what you're better at. Are you better at hell? Or are you better at heaven? Which one you're more exquisite at? looking at the situation of the world, I think majority of people are very good, brilliant at creating hell for themselves. But how many people really sit in heaven? Like you meet somebody and they're for hours, they go like, where are you? Oh gosh, I can't even talk to you about this. It's like, I'm in this exquisite life that I didn't know was there. And you're just there and you even go like, what hell? So the hell was created actually very innocent. It was as innocent as a little kid that's playing with matches while the parents are out of the house, and just by accident burns the whole house down. And that's exactly, we just had this innocent little thought like, what would it be like if I was just doing all this without God? And we immediately experienced hell. And then we went, oof, I don't want this. But that focus on what we don't want made more of what we don't want. So how many times we, instead of looking at solution, we going over and over and over with the problem, going back to the problem, rather than going like, hang on a second, what can I do right now? Open my mind to a brand new inspiration. So there was this tiny made idea of separation, and suddenly we looked out and there was a world. There was something that was separate from me, only because I had this tiny innocent exploration of how to use matches. And next minute, everything's on fire, and from my heaven, just suddenly, there was hell. You have been unable to separate mind from body, brain from head, and intelligence from knowledge. Take heart. We simply learn in a new way, and in our learning realize that our light shines from within our heart, our altar to the Lord. Here the Christ in us abides, and here we concentrate our energies and our learning, soon to learn that what we would know cannot be computed in a databanks of an overworked and overtrusted brain, a mind we cannot separate from where we believe it to be. Our hearts, in contrast, go out to the world, to the suffering, to the weak of body and of mind. Our hearts are not so easily contained within the casing of our flesh and bone. Our hearts take wing with the joy and break with sadness. Not so the brain that keeps on registering it all, a silent observer, soon to tell you that the feelings of your heart were foolish indeed. Right? There comes logic. It is to our hearts that we appeal for guidance, for there resides the one who truly guides. You who think this idea is rife with sentiment, sure to lead you to abandoning logic, and thereafter certainty to cause your ruin, I say to you again, take heart. Such foolishness as your heart's desire will save you now. Remember, it is your heart that yearns for home, your heart that yearns for love, remembered. Your heart that leads the way, that should you follow, will set your certainty on the path for home.